Okay, be honest. How many of you have been ghosted at least once? Or had someone seem super into you one day, then act like a total stranger the next? Or maybe you've been on a first date where the other person spent more time staring at their phone than actually talking to you. Somehow, with all this technology, dating should be easier, right? I mean, we literally have thousands of potential matches at our fingertips. And yet, it feels harder than ever. Modern dating feels like a never-ending game. The rules keep changing, and no one seems to know what they actually want. But is it really harder than before, or are we just imagining it? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down today. We're going to look at why dating feels so frustrating, why it's harder to make real connections, and, most importantly, how you can navigate all this without losing your mind. And hey, if you've ever been confused, frustrated, or straight up exhausted by modern dating, drop a comment below. I want to hear your experiences. Let's take a step back. Dating wasn't always this complicated. In fact, for most of history, people met in very predictable ways, through family, mutual friends, work, or their local community. You met someone, courted, and if things worked out, boom, commitment. Fast forward to today, and things look very different. Instead of meeting at a local dance or church social, people are meeting through apps, social media, and sometimes completely by accident. But here's where things get tricky. While technology has given us more options, it hasn't necessarily made things easier. In fact, it's made dating way more complicated. And the biggest reason? Too many choices. Ever walked into a restaurant with a massive menu and felt totally overwhelmed? Like you know everything sounds good, but you just can't pick. And the more you stare at the menu, the harder it gets? That, my friends, is modern dating in a nutshell. It's called the paradox of choice, and it's wrecking our ability to find love. Back in the day, you might have met a handful of potential partners in your entire life. Now, you could swipe through hundreds in a single afternoon. But instead of making dating easier, this abundance of choice actually makes it harder to commit. See, when we have too many choices, we start second-guessing everything. What if someone better is just one swipe away? What if I settle too soon? What if I choose wrong and regret it later? The paradox of choice makes people hesitant to commit because they fear making the wrong decision. This often leads to option paralysis, where instead of making a choice, people just keep searching indefinitely. And let's be real, how many of you have ever swiped past someone who seemed great just because you thought, meh, I'll find someone even better? Myth: dating apps help you find love faster. Fact: apps give you more options, but studies show they actually make long-term relationships harder because people hesitate to commit. So, what does this all mean for dating today? Well, for one thing, it means people aren't committing as quickly as they used to. And that's exactly what we're diving into next. Why commitment is dying in the age of situationships. Yes, the classic situationship. You know the drill. You've been seeing someone for weeks, maybe even months, but there's no official title. You do couple things. You have deep talks, but the moment you bring up, "What are we?" poof, they vanish, change the subject, or hit you with the dreaded, "let's not put labels on it." Situationships are modern dating's biggest scam. They give you just enough attention, just enough intimacy, just enough emotional investment to keep you hooked, but never enough to truly commit. Why is commitment so rare these days? Back in the day, people committed much faster. If you like someone, you made it official. No guessing games, no 3-month talking stage, no breadcrumbing. There are several factors contributing to this hesitation. Social media, dating apps, and an overwhelming number of choices make people believe there's always something better around the corner. Additionally, past heartbreaks and fear of vulnerability cause many to keep one foot out the door. And let's talk about hyper-independence, because that's a big one. The era of "I don't need anyone" look, being independent is great, but somewhere along the line, we went from "I don't need a partner to survive" to "I don't need anyone at all." Studies show that despite all this is self-sufficient talk, people are lonelier than ever. We're social creatures. We do need meaningful connections. But modern dating makes vulnerability feel risky. No one wants to be the one who catches feelings first, so we all just keep playing it cool until someone gets hurt. So instead of real relationships, we get vibes, talking stages, and it's complicated situations that go nowhere. And then we wonder why we're all exhausted. But wait, it gets worse. Because not only are people avoiding commitment, but the few who do want it often struggle with a whole different problem. The instant gratification trap and unrealistic expectations. Let's be real, dating today isn't just hard because of commitment issues. It's also because we've developed completely unrealistic expectations of love and attraction. Unrealistic standards and the perfect partner myth. Social media has fed us this idea that love should be effortless, that you'll just know when you meet the one. That sparks will fly instantly, and if they don't, next. Here's the thing, great relationships aren't found, they're built. But with dating apps, if someone isn't instantly perfect, we move on to the next option without giving things a real chance. The truth is, attraction and chemistry can grow over time, but we've been so conditioned by instant gratification that if we don't feel butterflies immediately, we assume it's not meant to be. The fast food mentality of love. Think about it. Everything in our lives is on demand. Food? DoorDash. Entertainment? Netflix. Need a ride? Uber. We don't wait for anything anymore. And that mindset has crept into dating. We expect instant chemistry, instant replies, instant clarity, and when we don't get it, we assume something's wrong. But relationships don't work like Amazon Prime. You can't next day ship emotional connection. Ask any couple that's been together for 10+ years, and they'll tell you, real love takes time, patience, and effort. But modern dating makes patience feel impossible. Dating apps equal sign shopping for people. Let's not forget how dating apps literally gamify relationships. Swiping on people like they're items on a shelf makes us treat each other like products, constantly searching for the best deal, instead of appreciating what's in front of us. And here's the worst part. Because we know we are being treated like an option, we start treating others the same way. It's a cycle of detachment. So, what's the solution? Alright, we've talked about the problems. Now let's talk about solutions. How can you date in today's world without losing your sanity? How do you actually build a real connection when everyone seems emotionally unavailable? Stick around, because in the next part, we're diving into actionable strategies that can actually help you navigate this mess and find something real. Breaking free from the modern dating trap. So, after everything we've talked about, you might be thinking, great, dating is doomed. I should just buy a cat and give up, right? Hold up, don't go full hermit mode just yet. Yes, modern dating has its challenges, but that doesn't mean you're doomed to an endless cycle of ghosting, situationships, and disappointments. You just need to approach dating differently. Be intentional about what you want. One of the biggest mistakes people make is going into dating without clarity. You're just seeing where things go, but then get frustrated when things go nowhere. Here's the deal. If you don't know what you want, you'll end up in a situationship by default. And if you don't communicate your intentions up front, you'll attract people who also don't know what they want. Yes, it feels scary to be direct, but trust me, being upfront saves you time. The people who aren't on the same page will weed themselves out, and that's a good thing. Stop swiping on dating apps like you're shopping for a new TV. If you're treating dating apps like a game, you're going to get game-like results, flaky matches, endless talking stages, and no real connections. Instead, slow down, read bios, ask meaningful questions, swipe intentionally instead of just going for whoever looks hottest. If you want deeper connections, start deeper conversations. Trust me, it makes a difference. Stop idealizing the one. Look for the real. A lot of people stay single not because they aren't meeting great people, but because they're looking for the perfect person who ticks every box. Look, nobody's saying settle for less than you deserve. But if your standards are so unrealistic that no human can meet them, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The best relationships aren't perfect. They're built through effort, understanding, and genuine connection. So, instead of looking for flawless, look for compatible. The 90-day rule for modern dating. Ever heard of the 90-day rule? It's simple. Before getting too emotionally invested, give yourself 3 months to really assess if the person is right for you. Most people show their best selves in the first few weeks, but by month 3, the real personality starts to shine through. This rule helps prevent you from rushing into something just because of excitement. Take your time. Observe their consistency, communication, and effort over time. Date with boundaries, not just vibes. One of the biggest reasons modern dating feels exhausting is because people jump in with zero boundaries. Going with the flow is cool if you're on a lazy river, but in dating, it usually leads to disappointment. Set your standards early. If someone gets defensive or calls you too much for having boundaries, guess what? They weren't your person anyway. Learn to handle rejection without taking it personally. Let's be real, rejection sucks. But in modern dating, it's inevitable. Instead of taking it personally, start seeing it as redirection. Sometimes, rejection is a blessing in disguise. Instead of chasing someone who's lukewarm, let them go. You want someone who chooses you enthusiastically, not someone you have to convince. At the end of the day, modern dating is hard, but it's not impossible. The key is to be intentional, set boundaries, and stop playing the exhausting who cares-less game. Real love does exist, but to find it, you have to stop settling for almost relationships and start prioritizing real connections. So if you're tired of the games, the ghosting, the endless talking stages, change the way you approach dating and watch how everything shifts. The future of dating, what comes next? Alright, we've broken down why dating today feels like an impossible puzzle. We've looked at the problems, the modern challenges, and even the solutions. But now, let's ask the big question. Where is dating actually headed? And more importantly, what does that mean for you? Relationships have always changed with the times. In the past, people married their high school sweethearts, settled down in their early 20s, and stayed together for life, whether they were happy or not. Now, we have options. We can wait, we can explore, we can choose partners based on compatibility, not just survival. That's a good thing. But it also means we have to be more intentional than ever before. What the data says about dating trends. Let's look at the numbers. People are getting married later. More couples are meeting online than ever before. And studies show that deep emotional connection, not just attraction, is what leads to lasting relationships. What does that mean for you? It means if you want a meaningful relationship, you need to stop chasing the instant spark and start prioritizing deep compatibility. Because the truth is, the best relationships aren't the ones that burn bright and fade fast. They're the ones that grow, built on effort, trust, and shared values. The rise of conscious dating, a new approach. This is the future of dating, what experts call conscious dating. Instead of playing mind games, waiting hours to text back, or treating people like they're disposable, more people are realizing that healthy relationships require healthy behaviors. So, what does conscious dating look like in real life? Know what you want? Be honest about whether you want something serious or casual. Date with standards, not games. Clear communication beats mixed signals every time. Embrace slow love. The best connections aren't rushed. Prioritize real connection over surface attraction. Look beyond just looks. Walk away from emotional unavailability. If they're not consistent, they're not for you. Dating with intention doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It just means you stop wasting time on people who don't align with your goals. Simple as that. The role of self-worth in modern dating. Alright, let's get real for a second. If dating today feels like a never-ending cycle of disappointment, ghosting, and unmet expectations, there's a common thread that most people overlook. Self-worth. Why self-worth shapes your dating experiences. If you've ever found yourself obsessing over someone's response time, overanalyzing every little text, or chasing after someone who clearly isn't putting in effort, you're not alone. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Dating struggles often have less to do with the people you're dating and more to do with how you see yourself. People with low self-worth tend to tolerate poor treatment in relationships. They ignore red flags, they overinvest in emotionally unavailable partners, and they mistake inconsistency for passion. And let's be honest, modern dating isn't helping. Social media constantly makes us compare our lives to perfect couple goals pictures. Dating apps condition us to seek validation instead of connection. It's no surprise that so many people feel like they're not enough. Here's something to think about. Are you dating because you want a meaningful connection? Or are you dating because you need to prove you're desirable? There's a difference, and that difference determines the kind of people you attract. Developing high-value dating standards. The people who thrive in modern dating aren't the ones who play the most games or get the most matches. They're the ones who have high standards and refuse to settle for less than they deserve. A lot of people confuse having standards with being too picky. But here's the truth. Having high standards isn't about expecting perfection. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to waste time on people who don't meet your baseline requirements. Signs you're compromising too much in dating. You make excuses for inconsistent behavior. You accept breadcrumbing or minimal effort. You feel anxious about whether someone likes you instead of asking if you like them. You ignore your needs to keep someone interested. If any of these sound familiar, it's time to shift your mindset. Instead of trying to be good enough for someone else, start asking, are they good enough for me? When you stop chasing attention and start prioritizing respect, your dating experience completely changes. The power of walking away from the wrong people. Now, let's talk about the hardest but most important skill in dating, knowing when to walk away. If someone is inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or playing games, the strongest move you can make is not to engage. Many people chase emotionally unavailable partners because they're subconsciously trying to prove their worth. But this cycle only leads to more rejection and self-doubt. The healthiest relationships happen when both people are emotionally secure and mutually invested. Here's the harsh truth. If you have to convince someone to choose you, they're not your person. And the more time you waste on the wrong people, the less time you have to find the right one. Healthy love isn't confusing. It's not a guessing game. The right person will show up, put in effort, and choose you consistently. So, if someone is making you feel like an option instead of a priority, don't try to win them over. Just walk away. Your future self will thank you. At the end of the day, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. The way you value yourself directly impacts the way others treat you. When you raise your standards, walk away from the wrong people, and focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you don't have to chase love. The right person will recognize your worth, because you do first. Be honest. How many times have you checked your phone today? How many times have you instinctively opened a dating app, even when you weren't actively looking for a match? If the answer is too many to count, you're not alone. Social media and dating apps have completely changed the way we approach romance, and not necessarily for the better. The illusion of infinite options. Once upon a time, dating meant meeting people in your social circle, at work, or through friends. There was effort, there was courtship, and, get this, people actually had to talk to each other in real life. But today, we've got seemingly unlimited choices at our fingertips. Apps like Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge make it feel like there's always someone better just one swipe away. And that illusion of infinite options. It's making people less committed, more disposable, and way less satisfied in dating. Studies show that when people feel overwhelmed by choices, they struggle to make a decision. This paradox of choice means that even when we find someone great, we hesitate because what if someone better is just one swipe away? Instead of investing in one real connection, many people end up half interested in dozens of people at once. And when real feelings start developing, ghosting, breadcrumbing, and situationships become the norm. Let's be real, dating isn't just about connection anymore. It's also about performance. From the perfect first date outfit to the right flirty text response, social media has trained us to care more about how we look to others than how we actually feel in our relationships. Ever posted something just to see if a certain someone would notice? Or stayed in a met relationship because it looked good on social media? We've all been there. The problem is, when dating becomes more about external validation than actual connection, relationships lose depth. Signs. You're dating for validation, not connection. You feel anxious if your crush doesn't like or view your posts. You chase the thrill of matching but lose interest quickly. You post relationship updates more for others than for yourself. You date to prove your desirability instead of building something meaningful. The constant need for validation makes dating exhausting. Because instead of enjoying the actual experience of getting to know someone, we're caught up in an endless cycle of proving ourselves. Instant gratification has killed relationship patience. Think about this. A few decades ago, if you liked someone, you waited to see them. You worked to build a connection. Today, if someone doesn't text back in 5 minutes, we panic. If the chemistry isn't instant, we move on. If a relationship requires effort, we label it too much work. We're addicted to instant gratification. The moment something isn't exciting, we chase the next dopamine hit. And this mindset is wrecking modern dating. The constant stimulation from social media and dating apps shortens our attention spans. We expect immediate rewards, immediate validation, and immediate connection. But real relationships take time. They don't operate on the same fast-paced, instant feedback loop as our phones. How to break free from the digital dating trap? So, how do we fix this? How do we escape the toxic cycle of swiping, ghosting, and chasing validation? Set clear intentions. Are you dating for fun, validation, or real connection? Get honest with yourself. Limit social media comparisons. Just because a couple looks happy online doesn't mean they are. Detach from instant gratification. If someone doesn't text back immediately, chill. Real attraction builds over time. Meet people outside of apps. Try events, hobbies, or mutual friends. Dating should be human, not just digital. Don't let technology control your self-worth. Your value isn't defined by likes, swipes, or text response times. At the end of the day, dating apps and social media are tools, but they shouldn't control your love life. The moment you stop letting algorithms dictate your worth, you start experiencing relationships in a way that's actually fulfilling. If you feel like modern dating is harder than ever, you're not imagining it. But the key to making it work is to step away from the illusion of love online and start building real connections offline. When you stop chasing digital illusions and start focusing on real human connection, dating becomes so much better. How modern society has changed expectations in dating. Think back to the way relationships were portrayed in old movies. Grand romantic gestures, deep emotional connections, and a clear, happily ever after at the end. Now, fast forward to today, what do we have? Situationships, commitment issues, and an endless battle between unrealistic expectations and modern independence. So, what changed? Why do dating and relationships feel so much harder than they used to be? The conflict between traditional roles and modern independence. Back in the day, dating was simple, or at least simpler. There were clear roles, clear expectations, and clear timelines. You met someone, you courted, you married, and boom, you had your happily ever after. But today, we're juggling careers, self-discovery, personal goals, and a million different ideas of what love and commitment should look like. Now, don't get me wrong, having more choices in love is great. But when nobody is on the same page about what dating even means, it creates chaos. Many people today struggle with the tension between wanting deep connection and fearing the loss of independence. This conflict leads to a rise in ambiguous relationships, what we now call situationships or commitment phobia. Modern dating is a tug-of-war between love and autonomy. People want romance, but they also want freedom. They crave deep connection, but they fear commitment. They want security, but they don't want to feel tied down. This constant push and pull is exhausting, because when nobody knows what they really want, or when people refuse to communicate it, dating turns into an endless cycle of confusion, frustration, and disappointment. Unrealistic expectations and the rise of the perfect partner fantasy. Social media loves to romanticize the perfect partner. Whether it's Instagram couples doing coordinated dance routines, TikTok showing idealized relationship goals, or self-proclaimed dating gurus preaching about only accepting the highest value man or woman. People today are chasing an illusion. Reality versus social media dating expectations. Social media's version of love. Perfect, effortless relationships. No conflicts, no compromises. Every date is an extravagant event. The right partner will just know what you need. Reality. Relationships take work. Healthy conflict is normal. Small, everyday moments matter more than grand gestures. Nobody can read your mind. Communication is key. But here's the problem. When people expect perfection, they never feel satisfied with real relationships. The moment things feel too real, an argument, a difficult conversation, a minor flaw, many people check out, assuming the relationship is wrong instead of worth working on. The more we consume idealized versions of love, the harder it becomes to accept real, imperfect relationships. Many people today are holding out for a partner who fits a fantasy rather than learning to appreciate and nurture a real connection. Love isn't about finding flawlessness, it's about finding someone imperfect who's perfect for you. The fear of making the wrong choice. Here's another major issue: paralysis by analysis. Since dating has so many options now, people are terrified of making the wrong choice. The idea of settling for the wrong person haunts modern daters like a horror movie. People today would rather stay single forever than commit to the wrong relationship. But here's the catch: there's no such thing as a perfect choice in love. Every relationship involves risk, effort, and growth. Many people today overthink dating decisions to the point of inaction. But love isn't a mathematical equation. It's about choosing someone, committing to them, and building something together, even when things aren't perfect. Stop overthinking love. Start building it. No relationship is guaranteed to work. Love is a choice, not just a feeling. Waiting for the perfect partner means you might miss out on the right one. Love isn't about waiting for fate to hand you the perfect person. It's about choosing someone worth choosing and showing up for them every day. So if modern dating feels harder than ever, it's not just in your head. But the key to making dating work in today's world is to stop chasing illusions, stop overthinking, and start building real, meaningful connections. When you let go of unrealistic expectations, stop waiting for the perfect person, and embrace the reality of love, dating becomes so much better. The final takeaway: love isn't dead, it's just changing. At the end of the day, love isn't dead. It's not impossible. It's just changing. And if you can adapt, if you can be mindful about who you let into your life, then dating doesn't have to feel like a never-ending headache. Because real connection, it still exists. It's just waiting for people who are willing to build it. Now, I want to hear from you. What's been your biggest struggle in modern dating? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. And if this video helped shift your perspective even a little, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Dating in today's world isn't easy, but if you change your approach, you can change your results. So be intentional, be smart, and most importantly, don't settle for anything less than a love that truly chooses you.